Hello, people. uDemand is a real-time, collaborative learning platform for software development. It produces professionals that are self-sufficient and have the willpower to compete on global business networks. Here in this video, we will discuss about Saviynt. Saviynt is an identity and access management (IAM) platform that offers organizations with unified access control, identity governance, and compliance solutions. It lets organizations to control user access to their data, apps, and networks in a secure way. You've come to the right location to get knowledge about Saviynt. Get the whole idea by watching all of the available videos. Following are the topics covered in this video series. IDM Saviynt User Lifecycle Custom Connector. Import users. Onboard application. Workflows. Cloud access governance and intelligence. In order to learn more about emerging technologies, kindly give the channel a like, share and subscribe to it. Contact us for more details at sales@udemand.org. Let's get started.
And let's talk about the overall stuff, right? So it is the first session, so I'm not going to bombard you with a lot of information.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to do rather, is to give you a decent understanding of what identity and access management is, right? Why are we using the tool that we are using? But what are the core capabilities? Which are the tools in the market apart from Saviynt as well, that are working in, right? And how Saviynt differs from them. Also, I'll give you some background on what are the courses content that we use as part of the training. Okay.
Okay.
I hope that will allow you to make a better decision. Okay.
Yeah.
Irrespective, let's talk about what identity and access management is, and we'll also talk about cybersecurity in general. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what is happening right now. And again, if you know, there are only a couple of technologies which are booming right now, even in terms of hiring. So as you already know, obviously all the big companies are releasing a lot of candidates, right, from their jobs. There are a lot of hiring which is happening within the industry.
Yeah.
But there are only two industries where that kind of let's say people are not leaving their job, or they are not forced to release their job, and one of them is cybersecurity. Within cybersecurity, hiring is going on at a massive pace even right now. And the opportunities are not only present domestically but internationally as well. So if you are planning anyways, or you in a long term you plan to settle abroad, this is the best technology to train yourself on. Okay. And again, just to add on to what I've already discussed, see, you don't have any background of identity and access management or cybersecurity in general, but even if there are people who have 7 or 8 years of experience and they try to learn Saviynt, let's say priorly they were working on some other tool and now they have decided to go ahead with Saviynt. Even in that case, I start from the scratch, because in terms of terminology, in terms of basic understanding, I've seen a lot of people, even people with 15 to 20 years of experience, they know about the tool, but they do not understand why that tool is being used for. In the macro perspective, how are we working for the company? What is the value that I'm making? What is the overall objective of doing what I'm doing, right? So usually what happens is you get into your job and you start doing something, but you do not actually understand why I'm doing that, right? So that is something which I feel is really important while you're appearing for interviews, because that is something which will basically differentiate your candidature as compared to others, because you'll have an overall understanding from the business perspective as well, which I believe is very important. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about firstly cybersecurity. Okay, so I do not need to tell you much about what cybersecurity is, right? Within modern companies, you have a lot of information and data, and that data mostly has to be secured one way or the other. Now, if you understand that most of the cybersecurity threats or the hacking attacks that you think about, ransomware or anything, most of these cybersecurity threats doesn't come from outside the company. Mostly it is from inside the company. What do I mean by that is that there is someone inside the company itself who are doing something because of which their credentials gets compromised, and those credentials are used by someone else to impersonate them, right? And ultimately what happens is the person is never able to, so that the security guy will never be able to understand that the person who is trying to access the application or who is access a certain application within a company that is an impersonator and not an actual person who is supposed to have that access, right? And that is where identity and access management picture comes into the picture. So even before I dive into identity and access management, I'll tell you something more. Okay. So there is so within cybersecurity, there is one certification which is considered to be the mecca of cybersecurity, which is called a CISSP. Okay. So CISSP is the highest certification that you can achieve within cybersecurity in general. So whatever cybersecurity is, so you must have heard about CISOs, right? Cybersecurity, let's say your security officers who lead the entire practice. So all the CFOs, CEOs, along with that, they have something called as a CSO, which is a Chief Security Officer, right? So they take care of the cybersecurity part as well. So all the CISOs, or if you talk about, let's say, Deloitte or Ernst and Young, all these companies makes it mandatory that in case you want to go to a managerial level or above, you need to be CISSP certified. Okay.
Okay.
So what happens is cybersecurity, basically the CISSP certification in itself has 14 topics. Okay.
Okay.
So within those 14 topics, you have something called as DPP, which is data protection. Okay. Then you have, sorry, yeah. Then you have something which is more common as penetration testing. Then you have furthermore topics which are part of this CISSP certification. Within those topics, one topic is identity and access management. And the overall weightage of identity and access management in this test is 15%. Okay. This is one of the highest weightage that has been given to a certain topic. Now, you might ask me, why is that? Why is identity and access management so important? So I'll give you an example. Okay. So let's consider that you appeared. So I'll tell you what. In case of service-based companies, so there are some companies which provide implementation or let's say support to some companies which do not have that much technical knowledge or technical teams who can handle their security. So they basically hire some other companies, let's say TCS, Infosys, Wipro, all these companies, and then they take care of their cyber security or let's say information security systems in general. So those companies are called as service-based companies. There are some other companies which makes their own software tools. So let's say Google, Amazon, all of them have their own software tools which are directly used by the customers. So all these companies are called as product-based companies. Okay. So within service-based companies, already you might have already heard about TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL, all these companies, but they do not in general pay very well. So in service-based companies, the big four, which is Deloitte, KPMG, and I believe PwC, right? These are the four companies which are relatively better in terms of both culture and money, right? And that's what I usually ask my ask the people whom I work for, because from a starting perspective, starting from a difficult place but a good place, always easier to switch, right? But if you get used to very simple work and simple work environment, it's get difficult to switch to a better place, irrespective. I'll go back to the topic that we were discussing. So basically, we were discussing that, okay, we have some certification called as CISSP, which is the highest cybersecurity certification that someone can achieve. That certification doesn't necessarily talk about very technical concepts, but it does cover from a strategy or logical perspective whatever is required to secure your information systems. Okay. So you have some users' data stored in your system as well. So obviously within identity and access management, you'll try to secure that data as well. Okay. So what I was trying to tell you is, let's say Deepa joins a new company. Okay. She's a new hire. She gets hired in the company. So what will happen is someone from the HR team will create Deepa's identity in a system. Okay. That system will give certain accesses to Deepa based on certain attributes. So let's say rather than technical field, you decided that you want to pursue your career in sales. Okay. So what will happen is HR will create Deepa's identity, and then the identity will have certain attributes: her first name, last name, mobile number, She might also have certain unique identifiers, social security number, and all that good stuff, right? And ultimately, what will happen is once her identity gets created, she will get access to certain application to get her work done. So Outlook would be one of them because you need access to emails. You will have Teams, which will allow you to collaborate with other colleagues. There could be something called as Box, which allows you to store data. And there could be certain, let's say, if you are part of the sales team, you'll have access to Salesforce as well. I hope you must have heard about it, right?
Yes.
So what will happen is you need all these accesses to get your job done, right? If you
Yeah.
do not have these accesses, your manager cannot expect you to carry out the responsibilities that you're supposed to fulfill. Now, the problem was if you look at 50 years back or 60 years back, this was a fairly manual process. What used to happen was that when a person gets hired, the HR used to manually send emails to all these administrators of individual applications and tell them that, okay, there is a new person who has been hired. Can you please create their identity? So, there will be an individual administrator of, let's say, Outlook, which will create your email account. Then you have your Box guy, then you might have your Teams guy, administrator, right? And then
Yes.
you might also have your Salesforce guy. Now, the problem here is that there is a decent possibility that one of these administrators would be out of office at a certain time, right? So, obviously, till the time they do not come back and see the email and then create your identity, you will not be able to access one of these applications, which, I mean, either one or many, right? Which
Yeah.
is not a good scenario. Now, consider there is a new person, not Deepa, but someone else who joined the company as a fresher, as an intern, and eventually she gets married. Once she gets married, her last name changes, and this information also has to be updated in all her accounts. So it's the her last name should get updated within Outlook, Box, Teams, Salesforce, etc. everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But again, one of the person or one of the administrators of the applications is out of office. When he or she comes back, they were not able to see the mail or they missed out on that, and hence they did not update the last name. Now,
Okay.
the information is consistent in three systems, but not in the fourth one.
Yeah.
Not a good scenario to have. But there is a difference between not a good scenario and a very dreadful scenario. Now, what I'm trying to say is that this is a dreadful scenario, and I'll explain you why. Okay. So when we're talking about these kind of scenarios, we are thinking from a high level perspective, but let's think about from a department perspective. So let's say Outlook is admin department, Box is IT department, Teams or Success Factors or Active Directory, all of these could be the HR department, and Success Factors would be sales. There would be some application that your company will use for accounting as well, right? So you will have your identity will be stored in some form or the other in all these departments as well, right? Because of these applications is being managed by that department. So now some intern got into the company, her identity got created, now she got married, and her last name has changed. Now this last name has been updated in one, two, three, four places, but the accounting administrator was out of office. Hence, he or she did not update her last name. Now she got an increment. After her increment, basically the HR said that please process an increment for someone with a different last name, right? The
Yeah.
accounting team will not be able to process that payment, and rather they will go on and ask the HR, who is this person? I do not have record for any such person. And then the HR team will come back and saying that, okay, why did you not update your records? You should have updated this prior, and this is the name of the person, right? And what will happen is in all this mess, firstly, her increment cycle would be missed, her salary could be delayed. Plus, this is a very generic example, but there could be points where, let's say, the increment would be processed for a different person. So let's say if there are two people, one is Amit Sharma and one is Amit Verma, right? And if there are two people with the same name, you might work out and maybe update the increment for a different person altogether, which can which can actually create a lot of ambiguity in the system, right? So
Yes.
this is certainly a big problem. What happens is, let's say for 60 or 70 years back, when the size of the company is 50 or 60 people, you can still manage it manually. But when the size grows, 500 people, 5,000, 50,000, 5 lakh, you cannot actually manage these user identities manually. You need to have a software in place from where you can manage all the users' access and their entitlements from a single place. right? Which is not manually, but through a software. That would be the best case to have. Now let's consider another case. What I'm trying to explain you right now is the need of the tool that we are talking about, Saviynt. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to explain you the core, these are the core concepts which are applicable not only to Saviynt, but any audience that you work with. Okay. So let's consider another scenario that similarly, there is a person who got hired. Now the person has moved from one department to another. Okay. So let's say from sales department, they have moved to marketing. Now, because they have moved to marketing, they do not actually need access to Salesforce, correct? Because they are not working in sales anymore. So
Okay.
ideally, their access should be taken away. But let's say the administrator or the HR did not realize that and they did not take away his or her Salesforce access. There is an ethical hacker, not ethical rather, there is a hacker who understood this, that there is an account which is not being actively used. And he steal those credentials of the user and start using Salesforce account. Within the Salesforce account, there would be data about the company's revenue, about the customers that they are working with, and the support representative reaching out to those companies. They have all that information, which is very critical to the company. What will happen is the Salesforce administrator will never get to know that there is a different person who is accessing the system and using all this data, because they will still think that the person is from their company and is a regular employee and he has been using Salesforce for quite some time. So there will be no one who will be judging their access, which is a very big flaw. Correct? So basically, any hacker, any person who is able to steal those credentials could impersonate the employee and steal a lot of information from the company, and the company would not get to know. And to avoid, I hope Deepa, you are there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay. Okay. So to avoid these kind of circumstances, what would be easier or better would be that we monitor all the users' access and their movements within the company from a single point, that is from an IDM tool. Okay.
Okay.
Now, this is the last use case that I'll talk about. We have considered a person joining the company. We have considered a person who has moved from one department to another, which are basically movers. And then let's discuss about levers. So let's
Okay.
say there is a person, the same person, right? The
Yeah.
intern that we were talking about. The intern joined the company. Her last name changed. Then she switched between different departments, and now she has decided to leave the company. When she decided to leave the company, the HR sent out an email to all these individual administrators saying that, okay, she's leaving the organization, please disable her account. Three of them again disabled her account, but the fourth one thought that, okay, I'll do that later, and it skipped their mind. Now what will happen is, in that case, her account will still exist. So the person has left the organization. Again, if a hacker is able to understand that there is a set of credentials which are vacant along with an active account which has not been used for almost a month or 2 months, they can again steal the credentials and start using that application and steal whatever data they want to steal from that particular application, right?
Yes.
What would have been a better scenario would be that you have a centralized tool which would be able to provide access to application and also take away that access in a single go, right? So rather than sending out email to all these individuals, I can either the HR can mark the user as terminated in their tool, and our identity and access management tool can take away their accesses in a single snap. Okay,
Yeah.
all the accesses are revoked. That would be a much better way of managing it. Similarly, if there is a person who is leaving one department and moving to another department, if I have a centralized tool, I can revoke their accesses for that particular application and grant them access to some other applications. And that is the reason the advent of identity and access management actually happened. Okay. Because what realized is that there is a lot of ambiguity in the way we are managing identities, which is a big security threat, because people can basically impersonate someone else. They can steal credentials. They can try to basically assist someone, right, in taking out or carrying out a hacking attempt. And that is the reason today almost all the companies in the world, whichever company you could think of, all of them uses some or the other identity and access management tool. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, by definition, we say what is identity and access management? Identity and access management is the process of managing a user's access from the time they join the company to the time they leave it. Okay. So we are trying to manage their life cycle. Okay. They joined the company, their accesses got created within the various applications. And when they left the company, we also took away their accesses. Right. If we are able to do that, we can say that we are having a successful identity and access management implementation. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions?
So far, I can understand clearly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's also talk about, while we're talking about Saviynt, let's also talk about the other tools that are present in the market. What is it? What are the differences between these tools, and why you and I are planning to train ourselves on Saviynt, but not any other tool. Okay. So as I told you about, identity and access management is not a new concept. Okay. It has existed for quite some time now. So
Okay.
usually in the past, there is a system called as Active Directory, which was basically used for identity and access management. But and it is a tool from Microsoft. Okay.
Okay.
But what happened was, the way AD is built, it it actually manages identities in a tree manner. So you'll have your and we'll talk about that later as well. But basically, because it is in a tree fashion, if you want to reach till a user or manage access in a tree manner, it is fairly difficult, because you'll have to traverse a lot before you can reach out to a user, and then you'll also have to manage multiple accesses for the same user, which is
Okay.
not really feasible in a corporate environment. Okay. So
Okay.
for the longest time, we were using Active Directory, but then there were many tools which came into the picture. One of them being Oracle Identity Manager. It is also called as OIM. So Oracle Identity Manager is basically a tool which was initially created by Sun Microsystems. Okay. So Sun Microsystems created it, but then obviously Oracle bought Sun Microsystems and hence they got it. So there were multiple, so a lot of companies, if you talk about Shell, if you talk about any other company, 20 years back, most of the companies in this world were using Oracle Identity Manager for as their IDM tool of choice. Okay. But
Okay.
then obviously in the recent last 10 years, there were many other tools which came into the picture. One of them is called as ForgeRock, which is basically a CIM tool. I will talk about what CIM is. Then you have Saviynt. Then you have Okta. Then you have there's Ping Federate. Then do you have CA systems? So basically, all of these tools performs the same operations more or less. Obviously, there are certain benefits that one tool will have over others, but these are the tools that are being used in the market right now. Okay, so two tools which are doing outstanding work. I think I missed SailPoint, so I'll rather say three tools which are doing outstandingly well in the market today is SailPoint. To be frank, SailPoint is not doing that great in the market right now, how the way it was performing 10 years back or 5 years back. But then Saviynt and ForgeRock, both of them are doing very well in the market. Okay. So basically, if you're looking for a job, you'll be able to find jobs very easily if you're already trained on any of these three tools. So when I say so, I do not mean that Oracle is not good, or you should not get trained on Oracle. You certainly can. But what I'm trying to tell you is that these are the three tools these tools in itself are a very niche skill. There are very few resources in the market who are capable in implementing Saviynt or working on ForgeRock or working on SailPoint, right?
Okay.
And that is the reason there is a lot of money that lies there, right? So in terms of increment, you can expect 1x, 2x, 3x, anytime x of your salary, of your current salary, when you become a Saviynt consultant. Okay. Again, I was telling you about ForgeRock as well. So basically what happens is, even for the examples that I gave you, we talked about a lot of employees, people who are internal to the company. You also have companies which are directly interacting with the end customer. I was talking about Facebook and Google and all those companies, right? So even in case you have a bank, so if you're using ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank, the HDFC Bank will also have its own application, its own net banking, right? So they're
Yes.
interacting with their direct customers, but they also need an identity and access management tool so that they can manage their internal employees who are HDFC employees and also external people like us who are
Yeah.
interacting with their websites, right? So
Yeah.
that those type of tools or those type of scenarios are called as customer identity and access management, because now you're not only managing your internal employees, but also external people are using your identity and access management platform to access various applications that you expose to them, right? And that is why it is called as CIAM. Okay. So, okay, that is done. Now I'll just talk about Saviynt a little bit, and I'll give you a little background on how we cover, okay, this training from Saviynt perspective. So
Yeah.
obviously, it's not like that I'm not going to cover extra topics. I always do that. Wherever I feel there is a new topic which you are not familiar with, we'll start covering that. Okay. So
Okay.
Saviynt has something called as L100 and L200 certification. Okay.
Okay.
It's not that difficult to crack anyways, because even if you attend L100 or L200 training, you become L100 or L200 certified. Okay.
Okay.
So we follow the same topics and the same PDFs, let's say the course content that Saviynt itself uses. Okay. So I already have that open. So if you see here, the training that we are providing is basically the same content that Saviynt provides to the people who are covering who are participating in their training, and their training is nothing short of at least $1,200, which again translates into almost 70,000 rupees, I believe. Okay, so we'll be following the same content. When I say the same content, one of the very good point of this content is that, let's say, 3 months or 4 months down the line, you forget one of the topics that we covered as part of the training. The PDF that I'll be sharing with you has step by step, let's say, procedure documented so that you can understand how to do what you want to do. If you want to create a new application form, if you want to create a new account, if you want to do reconciliation, whatever we'll be discussing through our training has already been documented. So it's
Okay.
not like that, okay, I attended the training, but I do not remember anything because it's been almost 3 months.
Okay.
Okay. So that is one. So the best point, and again, very few people within the industry is doing that, but we do that because my purpose is to get recursive trainings from you, right? If I give you good training, obviously there will be someone whom you refer as well in the future, and again, that's how my business increases. Okay. So, anyways, these are the certifications that Saviynt provides. We'll be following the same data. Now, one thing that we'll be going above and beyond is that we won't be only covering the L100 or L200 topics, but we will also be covering a lot of the basic stuff. So the problem with Saviynt's own training is they will they will believe that you know a lot of stuff already, and
Okay.
only then they'll talk about the newer topics. The problem there is that everyone is not coming from the same background, they do not have the same experience. So what happens is there is something called as APIs, application programming interfaces, which are required to integrate these IDM tools with external applications. Okay. But
Yeah.
what they'll do is they'll talk about connectors. They'll talk about how do you integrate with external applications, but they won't talk about APIs. They won't explain or train you on APIs, right? They do not tell you what are the actual business scenarios that arises when once you work with this tool. They would not talk about what questions should you anticipate would be coming in your interviews. What are the key differentiators that would differentiate your interview as compared to some other candidate, right? They
Yeah.
are only confined to talking about Saviynt. They have, let's say, 20 topics to cover. They will cover 20 topics and they move out. Okay, we do not do that. That
Okay.
is one. So that's why we take care of that you are completely prepared for an interview while you are deciding to move ahead with a new tool and all the dependent technologies as well. The second point is that I believe I'm not really sure if you had a word with the team or not, but if you want, we can also give you access to the tool itself. So it's
Okay.
not like that it's just a theoretical training. If you want to do hands-on, you can do that as well. Okay.
Actually, I heard that they'll be providing virtual machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can use Saviynt. So it's not like that it's just a PDF training or you tell me that Amit, you are just telling me theoretical stuff. Nothing like that. Everything is practical. The reason I usually cover theoretical topics or I use the PDF is because how to do things has already been documented. Okay. If you decide if you want to create a segregation of duties, you can follow this one by one. Click on this tab, click on this tab, go on that tab. But what you need to understand is that what is this certification? When is it used? In a business scenarios, what is the use? If my manager reaches out to me and asks me to do something, how do I do it? What is the need of doing it, right? What are the tentative business use cases apart from the one that has been documented that could come in while I start working, right? So all of these things are something that we cover as part of our training.